Hello everyone, this is a video response to a video posted by Monster Island Buddies titled, "Is the Godzilla Fandom Toxic?" It is a podcast-style video which discusses a situation in which a YouTuber, I believe it was being criticized for having a certain opinion about Godzilla, and a lot of people were jumping on this person and claiming that the Godzilla fandom is toxic because of it. And Monster Island Buddies made the comment in the video and drew the conclusion that the fandom is not toxic because of the few bad people who may have some toxic behaviors. And keep in mind, like, this video is intended to add to that conversation because I think that conversation is important. And Monster Island Buddies, I want to thank you for making that video because you have a much larger platform than I do, a much larger following. And as a person who's been trying to create a conversation about fandom dynamics and toxicity, I do appreciate any form of discourse on the subject. Now, I will say that there are going to be quotes that I present from the video that I do disagree with, or quotes that I use to establish context when it comes from the perspective of certain marginalized communities. But in doing so, I'm not doing it to be contentious or confrontational. It's all just to add some additional context and an additional layer to the conversation taking place. I just wanted to preface that, okay? So the first thing that I do want to begin with is some context in saying that as a gay man who is a Godzilla fan, I have faced my fair share of bullying in the Godzilla fandom from large swaths of people. And if you've watched my videos for any period of time, you are probably familiar with that. And I know a lot of other people in marginalized communities and women and other ethnic minorities, neurodiverse minorities who have faced a lot of bullying from other people in the Godzilla fandom. Do I think that fandom toxicity is a widespread thing? No, I do not. And I don't think that that can necessarily be claimed because, as you say at a certain point in the video, the Godzilla fandom is big and none of us can measure it, and I agree with that completely. It's smaller segments of the community, smaller spaces that have the potential and capacity of being toxic based on those who inhabit those settings, you know? And you do make the comment at a certain point that being a dick to a stranger is not toxicity. Being a dick to a stranger is the internet, unfortunately, disagreeing with something someone says is not toxic. I do agree with the last part for the most part. However, it is how a person presents their case, how a person disagrees, what caveats they add to it that determines what makes things toxic. Like, for example, I am a huge Mothra fan, and I have had quite a few Godzilla fans literally criticize me for loving Mothra because they hate Mothra. Them hating Mothra is perfectly fine until they go to the next degree and literally call me a faggot for liking Mothra. And I have been told that on more than one occasion. I've been told countless times by Godzilla fans that me having conversations about social justice, the dynamics of our Godzilla fandom, I've been told that I'm stupid, that I'm just this mindless, idiotic social justice warrior. I've even been told that I should have followed through with killing myself, which I have a history of suicidal ideation from a long time ago. And obviously, when comments like that arise, I think it's extremely concerning. As a 32-year-old man, I am capable of managing them because I have my mental health managed. But in the context of somebody who, say, might be a 15-year-old teenager who is coming out or accepting themselves or learning new things about themselves, having somebody on the internet saying something like that isn't just the internet being the internet. That is outright bullying. And I don't think it being this person being a stranger on the internet makes it justified in any way. Keep in mind, I'm not suggesting that you are making that that you are justifying it, but I'm just adding on that contextual example as a means to suggest that I don't think we should generalize that a stranger on the internet should be disregarded for, you know, being dickish or toxic. Like, I think that wrong behavior is wrong behavior, you know. Now, you do go on to say that I don't even think gatekeeping is toxic, but you know there might be people where gatekeeping is toxic to them specifically, and I think that's a phenomenal point that you made, because to individuals who are in the LGBTQ community, who are women or who are of other minorities, certain levels of gatekeeping can be unbelievably troubling. Mothra fans do deal with some gatekeeping because there is, as much as people don't want to admit it, and I'm sure I'm going to make some Godzilla fans eye roll when I say this, there is a certain level of toxic masculinity in the fandom, and a lot of Mothra fans are at times criticized for preferring Mothra, preferring this feminine, fuzzy, cute creature over these giant, lumbering, masculine, destructive creatures, you know? Like, do a whole nother video about that topic. Now, at a certain point in the video, you do say, quote, "Are we saying that the majority of the hundreds of thousands of Godzilla fans around the world are serial, gaslighting, sexual assaulting racists, etc., etc.? Is that what we're implying when we say this is a toxic fandom? It is a ridiculous notion." I understand where you're going with that, but again, I'm going to circulate back to the point where I don't think the entire fandom as a whole is toxic, but certain communities or sub-communities within the fandom do have the capacity to be toxic. Let me draw an example for you. So, when it comes to bullying, like in smaller communities within the fandom, it's not necessarily the bullying that is the only toxic thing. It is the bystanders who actively see the bullying but choose to do nothing that allows that toxicity to flourish and perpetuate. And that to me is what really sustains toxicity in communities. And I think that there is a way for us to overcome that, and that's simply for people to take a more active role in speaking up when they see somebody else being bullied. If you see a female Godzilla fan being sexualized, or having somebody be overly flirtatious and to an uncomfortable extent, say something. If you see an LGBTQ plus Godzilla fan wanting to have a conversation about why a specific character really helped them come to terms with themselves, and you see people telling them, well, why are you making it about your sexuality, and criticizing them, then that's something that you should step in and say, like, hey, like, let them express themselves. Let them have a conversation. And you, I think, do a great job in your video toward the end in saying this. You say, quote, "Let people make the content they want to make. Let people have the takes they want to have. Let people enjoy Godzilla the way they want to enjoy, to the level they want to enjoy Godzilla, and let them do it in peace." I think that is so unbelievably important, okay? And the last thing that I do want to focus on from your video that is a quote is, you say, "If you are unable to detach a person's shitty behavior from their participation in the Godzilla community, then you are making the same argument that school mass shootings are driven by video game violence. It's a complete fallacy of an argument." I did not think that that was a accurate analogy for it, nor a very practical analogy, considering those are two different levels of atrocity. But I think that if a person is going to exhibit shitty behavior, I think that they should be actively held accountable for their shitty behavior. And I think that there should be some degree of mass consensus from people within the fandom in solidarity, you know, calling into question this person's behavior. Because the truth is, our fandom is a wonderful place. We all celebrate these characters and these films, these stories that we love, and I don't think any person should ever be made to feel as though they don't belong. And I really think that this conversation should be extended to LGBTQ plus people, women, ethnic minorities, neurodiverse minorities, and a variety of different minorities. All right, because we all interact on the internet. That's what keeps us all together. So Anyway, I just wanted to share some of those thoughts. Again, thank you, Monster Island Buddies, for making your video, and I appreciate the conversation. And maybe in the future we can have like maybe an email conversation about this. I would love to continue our efforts and helping keep our fandom a welcoming and phenomenal place. Okay. Anyway, subscribe to my channel. Check out my other videos if you haven't yet. Share your thoughts in the comment section below. And stay excited for Godzilla vs. Kong because it's just around the corner. Bye, friends.